my name is Felicity Anel Tuasan, and today I'll be telling you how to install computer parts and networks.
What is a computer? Computer. It is an electronic device for storing and processing data, typically in binary form, according to its instructions given to it in a variable program. Before we get into more information, let's talk about computer peripherals. What are computer peripherals? Computer peripheral. It is an ancillary device used to put information into and get information out of the computer. Here are some examples. Mouse is a handheld pointing device that detects two-dimensional motions relative to a surface. This motion is typically translated to the motion of a pointer of a display. It allows a smooth control of the graphical use interface of a computer. Keyboard. It is a typewriter-style device which uses an arrangement of buttons or keys to act as mechanical levers or electronic switches. Speakers. Also known as multimedia speakers, are speakers sold for use with computers, although usually capable of other audio usage. Example, for an MP3 player. Printer. It is a device which makes a persistent representation of graphics. The different types of printers, usually a 3D printer, inkjet printer, laser printer, thermal printer, etc. Headphones. Sometimes referred to as earphones, headphones are a hardware output device that either plug into a computer line-out or speakers. It allows you to listen to audio or watch a movie without disturbing people around you. It's an output device that scans documents such as photographs and pages of text. This creates an electronic version of the document that can be viewed and edited on a computer. Monitor. It is an output device that displays information in pictorial form. Webcam. It is a video camera that feeds or streams an image or video in real time to or through a computer to a computer network such as the internet. Microphone. It allows computer users to input audio into their computers. What is a system unit? System unit. It is a box-like case that contains the electronic components of a computer. Many people erroneously refer to this as the CPU. Here you will find devices like the power supply, different drives, the fan, the connectors, and the motherboard. Parts of the computer system unit. RAM. Random access memory is a form of computer memory that can be read and changed in any order, typically used to store working data and machine code. RAM is located next to the CPU or central processing unit. Motherboard. It is the main circuit board of your computer and is also known as the main board or logic board. It is located inside the system unit and is where most of the parts and computer peripherals connect. Power supply. It converts main AC to low voltage regulated DC power of the internal components of a computer. The power supply is located at the back of the computer, usually at the top. However, many more recent tower computer cases house the power supply at the bottom back of the case. CPU. Central Processing Unit, also called main processor or just processor, is electronic circuitry within a computer that executes instructions that make up a computer program. It is located inside the computer case of the motherboard. It is sometimes called the brain of the computer, and its job is to carry out commands. Whenever you press a key, click the mouse, or start an application, you're sending instructions to the CPU.
Optical disk drive.
It is a disk drive that uses laser light or electromagnetic waves within or near the visible light spectrum as a part of the process of reading or writing data to or from the optical disks. It is mounted to the end with the connections faces inside the computer and the end with the drive bay faces outside. The back end of the optical drive contains a port for a cable that connects to the motherboard. Heatsink. Nearly all computers have heat sinks, which helps keep the CPU cool down and prevent from overheating. The fan moves cool air across the heatsink, pushing hot air away from the computer. It is located on top of the CPU or Central Processing Unit. GPU. Graphics Processing Unit is a specialized electronic circuit designed to rapidly manipulate and alter memory to accelerate the creation of images in a frame buffer intended for output to a display device. It is typically located in the expansion slot closest to the CPU.
HDD.
Hard disk drive is an electromagnetical data storage device that uses magnetic storage to store and retrieve digital data using one or more rigid, rapidly rotating platters coated with magnetic material.
Step by step on building a computer. Disclaimer: make sure your workspace is clean and has plenty of room. And please remember to be careful. Thank you. Step 1. Install the power supply. The first component to make its way into the case should be the power supply. It is typically located at the rear of the case, usually in the bottom or the top corner. Step 2. Install the processor. Next, prepare the motherboard by installing the CPU, cooler, and RAM before fitting it in the case. They're a lot easier to install now rather than after the motherboard resides in the system. Step 3. Install the RAM. System memory or RAM doesn't require any glue replacement or wires. There are just two important factors, assuming you've chosen compatible RAM, direction, and slot choice. Step 4. Install the motherboard. Installing your packed motherboard is easy enough, but it can't just sit in your case. Most modern cases have built-in non-removable spacers between the back wall and the motherboard, known as standoffs. They act as a ground for the motherboard while preventing the connections on the back from shorting. Step 5. Installing the CPU cooler or heatsink. With the motherboard now tethered to your case, installation is simpler when using the CPU's package cooler. The process varies. However, given the different brands and generations, you'll need to refer to the include instructions for specific details. Step 6. Install your graphics card. Not every system needs a dedicated graphics card. If you want a standalone chip for graphics, like PC gaming, installation couldn't be simpler. We're also assuming for this step that the card you choose is appropriate for your case size, capabilities, and power supply. Step 7. Install any additional expansion cards. Graphics cards aren't the only components that use PCI slots. Other add-in cards include wireless networking, sound, video capture, and even storage. Their installation is no different than adding a discrete GPU. Step 8. Install your storage drives. There are 3 different storage drive sizes you're likely to encounter. They're all mounted and connected differently. Generally, hard disk drives are the larger 3.5-inch size, while the newer solid-state drives adopt the smaller 2.5-inch size. There's also the even smaller M.2 format and PCI Express drive format, which tends to be thin sticks with bare chips measuring around 1 by 3 inches. Step 9. Make the final connections. Before you get excited and hit the power button, it's worth running back through the system to make sure everything is properly seated and connected. Step 10. Power on. Now that you double-checked everything, switch on the power supply and press the power button in the front. A lot of systems don't boot correctly the first time, so don't get discouraged if you need to go back and check the connections again. Computer network. It is a set of computers connected together for the purpose of sharing resources. The most common resource shared today is the connection to the internet. Other shared resources can include a printer or a file server. The internet itself can be considered a computer network. Installing computer network. Step 1. Connect your router. It is the gateway between the internet and your home network. It is also the means by which all the devices on your network communicate with one another. Step 2. Access the router's interface and lock it down. The next step involves getting into the router's interface. This is done by connecting a laptop to the router and then accessing the interface via browser. Step 3. Configure security and IP addressing. After you've accessed the router, the next order of business is getting the security, SSID, and IP addressing settings right. Getting security right is a must, unless you want a neighbor stealing your bandwidth and possibly your data. Step 4. Setting up, sharing, and control. Now that you have a network set up, you can set up a way for everyone to access data on the network. With Windows 7 clients, this is achieved by creating a home group, a user-friendly way to create a work group. Step 5. Set up user accounts. In most networks, users access the network by logging in with their user account and password. Now you know how to install computer parts and networks. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something today, and sayonara.